All right, let's talk about SuperML. It's a tool designed to give your AI coding agent some serious machine learning superpowers. Now, if you've ever been in the ML trenches, you know just how high the stakes can be. And that's exactly the problem we're going to dive into. So, first things first, let's get into a problem that every single ML engineer knows all too well: the hidden and very, very real cost of using a coding assistant that's basically just guessing. I mean, really think about this. When your AI gets something wrong while you're building, say, a web app, what happens? You get a compile error, you fix it in a few seconds, no big deal. But with machine learning, oh, that feedback loop is a whole different beast. It's slow and it is expensive. And man, this quote from the source material just nails it. A tiny mistake, one little misconfigured parameter for a big model doesn't just fail. It churns away for nearly an hour, burning up incredibly expensive GPU time before you even know something's wrong. This right here is the exact issue that SuperML was built to solve.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's a big one. How do you stop these expensive failures before they happen? Well, that's where SuperML comes into the picture. You can think of it as an expert supervisor that's always looking over your AI agent's shoulder.
And look, we're not just talking about another simple plugin or a knowledge lookup tool here. SuperML is a fundamental upgrade for your agent. It gives it the specialized workflow and the deep knowledge of a senior ML engineer. It's all about shifting from just guessing to actually knowing. So, you're probably wondering, how does it actually pull this off? Well, it all boils down to two core pillars that work in tandem: a really structured process and a massive knowledge base. Let's break those down.
At its heart, SuperML has these two components. On one side, you have the process. This is like the expert's playbook, a step-by-step workflow that an experienced engineer would follow. And on the other side, you have the knowledge, a huge curated library packed with machine learning best practices. So let's look at that process side first. This expert process is actually a set of 7 specific skills that make up what's called the ML pipeline. You've got ML plan to map out your runs, ML verify, which is a lifesaver for catching mistakes before you start burning GPU time, and ML debug. This one's huge. It tackles those awful out-of-memory errors, not by guessing, but by finding the actual root cause. It's basically an expert's workflow turned into code.
Okay, but what about the knowledge part? Well, that's where something called Leeroopedia comes in, and this is where it gets kind of wild. We are talking about a purpose-built wiki with, get this, over 27,000 pages covering more than 1,000 different ML and AI frameworks. This is the massive library your agent uses to make sure its suggestions are based on facts, not just statistical patterns. So that all sounds great on paper, right? But does it actually work in the real world? How does it perform when the rubber meets the road? Well, let's look at the tests, because the benchmarks show a pretty significant difference. So they really put it through its paces. SuperML was tested on 37 different machine learning tasks, pitting an agent with SuperML against one without it. They even had independent LLM judges score the results, and yeah, the difference was pretty clear. And check this out. This chart tells a big part of the story. For tasks like ML inference optimization, writing really efficient CUDA or Triton kernels, the agents using SuperML saw a 17% geomean speedup. That's not just a number on a chart. That's a real, tangible improvement that means faster, better code. Here's a perfect real-world example. Let's say you hit that dreaded out-of-memory error. A normal agent might just guess, try reducing your batch size. But SuperML, using its ML debug skill, is way smarter. It follows a process. First, identify the symptom. Then check its knowledge base for likely causes for your exact setup. And then it gives you a solution that targets the root cause. No more guesswork. All right, so I know what you might be thinking. This sounds amazing, but it's probably a huge pain to set up, right? Well, the great news is, getting all this power is actually incredibly simple. You can be up and running in just a couple of commands. It doesn't matter if you're using Claude Code, Cursor, or another agent that supports it, the installation is designed to be totally straightforward. For Claude, for example, it's just 2 commands. One to register the marketplace, one to install the plugin. Boom, you're done. They really made it low friction so you can get going right away. And once it's installed, you just talk to your agent. But now you can do it with a whole new level of confidence. You can throw it a really complex, super specific task like this one.
setting up a full QLOR training config for Llama 3.1 on a specific GPU. SuperML will use its skills and knowledge to spit out a correct, optimized configuration that's ready to run, and it'll even cite its sources.
And this really brings us to the most important question of all. Just imagine what you could build. How much faster you could iterate. How many more ideas you could test. If you could just eliminate all those frustrating, expensive cycles of trial and error. That's the real promise here, giving your agent an expert upgrade so it finally stops guessing and starts knowing.